Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for joining me. Today is August 31st, 2022. So this is the last day for August. I appreciate you for coming back. So I will share some news with you. The first one is the Prime Minister traveling to from Algeria to Turkey. As I said before, this Prime Minister is very desperate to get drones, to get weapons, and other hardwares to save his power. He is not going around looking for humanitarian aid like wheat, barley, or some other basic foods to save his people. He is looking for guns, drones, bullets to kill his own people for the sake of power. So according to some media outlets, his trip was not successful in Algeria. He didn't get what he was looking for. Now he's moving to Turkey, try to convince Erdogan, president of Turkey, to give him drones like before. So we are watching it, and if anything come out from this visit, we'll report to you. But he is desperate, really desperate, not to feed his people, but to kill his own citizens for the sake of power. Concerned Citizens Media repeatedly call upon him to resign like his predecessor, Haile Mariam Desalegn. That guy, he did good at the time. Before things became out of control, he resigned. He gave power. But this guy, he will kill anybody. He will destroy life for the sake of his power. He refused to sit down and settle the concern of all citizens in that country. He's just talking for political purpose, for diplomacy, but he's not serious. So he's in Turkey, and we'll see what he's gonna get from there. I hope he will not get any weapons to kill Ethiopians. The other thing is he also continued the bombardment of Mekelle by using drones. So this bombardment continued. So he got defeated in a face-to-face confrontation. So he is using the only advantage he has, drones and air power, to destroy life. So he's doing it in Mekelle. He's continue doing it. So that's the update. And the fighting with TDF and all the forces supporting Abiy Ahmed is still going on. Now is shifting from East Amara region to Western Tigray, and between Ethiopia-Sudan border and the Walqait area, according to the government media. I have the video in Amharic later on. So the war is expanding to Ethiopia-Sudan border, Walqait area, and other Western Tigray region. So that's the update. So the fighting is intensified and heavy. The loss is unimaginable, and we don't know the numbers, the injured, the dead on both sides. We don't have independent media. That's the problem. Abiy Ahmed doesn't allow any international media, in this conflict since last time, since 2020. The other thing is Lalibela. The city of Lalibela also joined the curfew, the restriction of people and weapons. So the city joined Dase and Waldia and other cities in declaring curfew, restriction on the movement of people, vehicles, and ammunition. So the people are living in terror again because of the policy of this person. It's not, it's not a good living condition. People are living in terror, before even TDF come to the city, they just run away to the next city to save themselves. And that is the situation. The situation is tense in East Amara region, now in Western Western Tigray, Walqait area. OLA also expanding its control in Oromia region. OLA fighters are, successfully removing the Ethiopian federal forces plus the Oromo militia and other forces from Oromia region, and taking control of some villages, Kabbales, and even here the military camp. So one of the Kabbale taken just recently is Agomsa Kabbale in Horo Guduru district in I think it's in Western Wellega zone. So Oile successfully removed these Prosperity Party officers, military forces, Oromo militias from that area, and took control of Agamsa Kabbale. And Ethio 360 also said something against Oile after they took this area. The accused Oromo Liberation Army ethnic cleansing of the Amara resident in this area. So that is a propaganda against Oile, and Oile already made it clear repeatedly. Oile is not targeting innocent civilians, whether they are Oromos, Amaras, Gurages, or whatever. They are not targeting. Innocent Amaras. The residents have been living for a while there. So the Oile is targeting prosperity cadres, informants, and Oromo militias, and the federal forces, federal police, federal army, whoever fighting for the power of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. That's their target. Oile is not targeting civilians. They made it clear repeatedly, but despite of all this, Ethio 360 accused Oile forces attacking or carrying out ethnic cleansing against the Amara people. That's false. They are not doing it. They are not benefiting from targeting Amara civilians. And even the resident, the Amaras, also reported to different media. The Oromia Regional Authority forces are attacking them. Gachana Sirna, which is officially known, organized by Oromia Regional Government, attacking these Amara civilians to create chaos, hate against the Oromos, between Oromos and the Amaras. That's their strategy. Oile has a target. Oile is to liberate Oromos from tyranny, from this dictatorship. It's not targeting Amara's ethnic-based attack. They are not benefiting from attacking civilians. Nothing. The target is clear. Prosperity Party forces. That's the target. So Ethio 360 must stop spoiling or tinting or tainting bad name against Oile forces. Oile is clear. Its objective is clear, to end Abiy Ahmed failed leadership in that country, and free Oromos from tyranny and all the atrocities we have been witnessing in Oromia. So also Oda Turbi reported on one major, very big gain oil achieved this week. I will read this tweet. It's talking about, let me read what it says. Oda Turbi is OLF international spokesperson. So he frequently gives us updates on OLA operation through the military communique. So this is a tweet from him. Oromo Liberation Army forces have overrun the regime's military camp located within the Arjo Diesa sugar factory compound. The regime's fighters have completely retreated from this area and escaped south. So that's a tweet from Oda Turbi on major gain of OLA forces. So OLA is actually, expanding its operation in all Oromia zones. So he is around Addis Ababa and also taking several towns and the villages. So they are doing good, and they are taking the advantage right now, because the majority, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his collaborators sending forces to northern part of the country and leaving a small amount. So OLA is taking that advantage and taking more ground. So thank you, and I will read the other news items and come to the video later on. There you go. OFC, Oromo Federalist Congress, calls an end to renewed hostilities, regrets international mediators' failure to use humanitarian truce to bring peace, acknowledge raging crisis in Oromia. So this is a press statement from OFC, from the leadership of Baqqala Garba, Dr. Marara Gudina, and Mr. Johar Mohammed. These are the senior OFC members, and are releasing this press statement on the current situation in Ethiopia. The opposition party, Oromo Federalist Congress, OFC, criticized the international community for failing to use the 6-month window of the humanitarian truce in Ethiopia to bring the warring parties to a negotiating table and secured a comprehensive ceasefire, and said it noted with great concern that the international community has failed to acknowledge, let alone try to resolve, the civil war raging across Oromia. Militarized hostilities re-erupted between Tigrayan forces and the federal government on 24 August after 6 months long pause following a humanitarian truce announced by both in March this year. It was followed by several attempts brokered by the international community to bring the civil war, which started in November 2020 and devastated Afar, Amara, and the Tigray regional states, to a peaceful resolution. The resumption of the militarized hostilities has already been condemned by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, multiple countries and institutions and their leaders, including the United States, Turkey, UN, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and AU Chairperson Musa Faki, who have raised concerns in regard to the situation and stressed a resumption of peace talks. In a statement the OFC released this morning, it said it was deeply saddened by the resumption of armed conflict in northern Ethiopia and the intensification of the ongoing fighting in Oromia, and warned that the escalation and the continuation of this conflict will cause more deaths and displacement to the population and further destabilize areas reeling from the destruction of livelihoods and the civilian infrastructure. As we have done since long before the breakout of these wars, we reiterate that war cannot be a solution for Ethiopia's complex political problems, which can only be sustainably resolved through genuine and all-inclusive negotiations. Therefore, we call upon the warring parties to de-escalate the conflict, silence the guns, and pursue a peaceful resolution, the statement said. The party further expressed its regrets at regional and international mediators that it said failed to utilize the last 6 months of relative calm, at least in the north, and the humanitarian truce thereof, to bring the warring parties to a negotiating table, and secured a comprehensive ceasefire, and called on the international community to act proactively and coherently in order to prevent further deaths and human suffering in all areas affected by conflict. In addition to expressing its regret at the failure of the international community to acknowledge, let alone to try to resolve, the civil war raging across Oromia, it said that the humanitarian situation in Oromia region has reached alarming levels, particularly in conflict and drought-affected areas. Therefore, we call on the diplomatic community to seek the immediate de-escalation of the ongoing conflict and facilitate peaceful resolution through negotiations, the party said. The OFC also pleaded with the people of Ethiopia, the party controlling government power, opposition political parties, media outlets, and the social media pundits and activists to refrain from incendiary rhetoric that is further inflaming the situation, and instead call for de-escalation with one voice. Our country, Ethiopia, and all Ethiopians stand to lose from these wars. We should all strive to contribute to the peaceful resolution of ongoing conflict. So that is very good press statement from Oromo Federalist Congress Party, and credit Addis Standard for this news. Actually, I have one more from Addis Standard. Federal police filed charges against 111 illegal digital media outlets suspected of working to make Ethiopia a center of violence. 111 media outlets. Yes, as we have been reporting on this, Abiy Ahmed cannot tolerate media. Cannot tolerate. The only thing he tolerates, or only friendly media like ISAT, Fana, Walter, ABS, Ethiopian News, all these. That's those who are paid by the government. That's the only thing they can tolerate. So now they file a charge against 111 illegal digital media. Let's see. The Federal Police Commission said it has filed charges against 111 illegal digital media outlets, which were suspected of working to make Ethiopia a center of violence during the concluded Ethiopian fiscal year. Assistant Commissioner Brahanu Abebe, Deputy Head of the Federal Police Commission's Tactical Crimes Investigation Department, told state media that in the last financial year, the Commission has carried out investigation based on tips on organized and terrorism-related crimes, corruption, financial and commercial crimes, as well as tax and customs-related crimes. Accordingly, of the 2,668 tips the Commission has received, it has examined 1,438 records and sent the file to the Federal Attorney General's office. Charges have already been filed against those suspected of working to make the country a center of violence and were operating using fake social media names. Through investigation, it was confirmed that these groups were working to achieve their hidden goals by inciting the people to violence, he said, adding that the 111 digital media outlets that were investigated and charged were not legally recognized by the Ethiopian Media Authority. Currently, the owners of these illegal digital media outlets are placed under the law and their cases are being investigated, he said. Individuals who are suspected defrauding and defaming bank through mobile money during the fiscal year have also been detained and charged after the cases were confirmed that they had robbed more than 57 million birr, according to the Assistant Commissioner. The Federal Police will expand its services and has opened additional branch offices in various regional states to investigate criminal activities, Assistant Commissioner Brahanu said. Credit again at this standard. Controlling crime, especially banking fraud and other issues, okay, acceptable. But when it comes to media, we don't trust the government. They are using any excuse to shut down the media. They don't tolerate. They shut down EthioTube, they shut down OMN, they shut down so many media for criticizing, for expressing their concern about the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed leadership. They shut down. So now, charging file for 111, that is questionable. If possible, the JCP, I don't know, these organizations standing for journalists and other human rights organizations should pay attention what Ethiopia is doing. This one is from U.S. State Department. I have two from U.S. State Department. One is about the arrival of wheat carrying brave commander to East Africa from Ukraine, about the arrival of this humanitarian aid. Let me read what it says. This is from press statement, Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of State. The United States welcomes the arrival in Djibouti of 23,300 metric tons of Ukrainian grain aboard the ship Brave Commander. This grain will be distributed within Ethiopia and Somalia, countries that are dangerously food insecure after 4 years of drought. The United States is grateful for the important role Djibouti has played facilitating the flow of humanitarian goods to the region. So Ethiopians hopefully will benefit from this, and the Somalians too. So what the Prime Minister was talking about this last time on the video, he was saying no hunger in Ethiopia. We don't need wheat. This is, to undermine Ethiopia's planned exporting wheat to the global market. It's very bad when you have a leader acting like this, try to hide the problem and give you false hope, false propaganda, and he make it crime to those who are reporting, especially in Oromia, about hunger or drought. Any government media cannot talk about hunger. Despite all this, the international community, they know there is hunger in Ethiopia, and they are still sending wheat and other materials to Ethiopia. Thanks to the international, thanks to the United States and others, really. But our government is not truthful. It's not truthful what Ethiopians are suffering, especially Somalians and Oromos. They are suffering. They lost the cattle, the livestock. They lost, which they are dependent on. They lost their resources. They don't have nothing. They are dying of hunger and starvation, really. The drought is impacting them, but the government is still denying, and they don't want to talk about, and they don't allow the media to talk about, even they don't want the international community to help. But thanks to humanitarian organization and those countries, they are still sending aid. They know the Prosperity Party officials are lying, including the Prime Minister. That's why we call upon him to, those leadership to resign, really. They are not there for the people. As part of a more than $68 million recent contribution by the United States to the World Food Program, WFP, this grain is among the first shipment of Ukrainian agricultural products exported from the Black Sea to reach some of the world's most food insecure countries since the beginning of Russia's unjustified full-scale attack on Ukraine on February 24. The United States is the largest contributor to the World Food Program, having provided $5.7 billion to organizations since October 2021. Since February, the United States has provided over $5.4 billion in humanitarian assistance to scale up emergency food security operations in food insecure countries globally. Ukrainian agricultural products are critical to global food security. The United States supports the Turkey and the UN brokered deal between Ukraine and Russia to resume Ukrainian agricultural exports via the Black Sea, and we are closely monitoring Russia's adherence to the deal's terms. We call on Russia to immediately cease its war on Ukraine, which would do much to address the recent spike in global food insecurity. So that is U.S. State Department on the arrival of this humanitarian aid to Djibouti. And we are grateful for the United States for standing to help Ethiopians, Somalians, and others in need of assistance. We appreciate them. And also their diplomatic and other pressure on Prime Minister to settle the conflict in that country. I hope this war will come to an end, and the Prime Minister and his associate will be accounted for. I hope. It's already set up the team to investigate genocide and other atrocities. So they are, ready to investigate. But Prosperity Party, they don't want that investigation to happen. That's why they are waging the war. This is also from Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of State, on the passing of President Mikhail Gorbachev, the last USSR president. We join people around the world in mourning the passing of Mikhail Gorbachev. Perhaps no word is more closely associated with Mr. Gorbachev than glasnost or openness. That is fitting for a man whose openness changed the course of human history. Mr. Gorbachev was open to acknowledging his country's history, not just its triumphs, but its tragedies, what he called the blank spot of the Soviet Union's past. He created space for dissenting views and freed dissidents who had spent years in exile or prison. He was also open to working with other nations, including adversaries like the United States, driven by the conviction that dialogue was in the interest of his people and all people. It is tempting to see the massive achievement of that engagement, including the end of the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the first ever engagement to reduce the nuclear arsenals of the US and the USSR, as inevitable. But those achievements would have been unimaginable without the courage and the determination Mr. Gorbachev brought to his pursuit of openness and the trust he built with President Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. He never lost faith in the transformative power of such engagement, even as some of his greatest accomplishments were weakened. In 2018, he wrote, "Is it too late to return to dialogue and the negotiations? I don't want to lose hope. We must not resign. We must not surrender." He was right. And his life is a powerful reminder of all that can be achieved when we make those ideals a reality. So that is Antony Blinken contributing on the passing of Mikhail Gorbachev, the last USSR president. Thank you. That's the end of the reading for today. Let's share a couple of videos and end today's presentation. There we go. There we go. So the first video is from Prime Minister of Ethiopia office. You know the words, so don't get angry at me. You know the expression, the words they use. Their words are not friendly, so I just let you know. But it's in Amharic. It's talking about the the war expanding to western Tigray, Ethiopia-Sudan border in the Wolqayt area. And they are also talking still the government of Ethiopia is open to settle the issue in a peaceful manner, like TDF is not interested. That's why, it's a government side. So I just let you know. Thank you again.
ሰላም የተዘረጉ እጆች እንዲታጠፉ ያስገደደ መሆኑን መንግስት አስታወቀ። መንግስት ለሰላም አማራጭ እድል ለመስጠት ሲል የህዝብ ማዕበል አስነስቶ ህፃናትን ወጣቶችንና አረጋውያንን ለመማገድ የመጣውን የህወሓት ታጣቂ በምስራቅ አማራ በኩል በጀግንነት ሲከላከል ቆይቷል። ህወሓት በምስራቅ አማራ በኩል በቆቦና አካባቢው የከፈተው ወረራ በጀግናው የመከላከያ ሰራዊትና በደጀኑ ህዝብ ጠንካራ የመከላከል ብቃት የተነሳ ባሰበው ልክ እንዳልሄደለት መንግስት አስታውቋል። በዚህ ምክንያት ለሰላም የተሰጠውን ሁለንተናዊ አማራጭ አሽቀንጥሮ ጥሎ ወረራውን ወደ ሌሎች አካባቢዎች እያስፋፋ እንደሚገኝ ተጠቁሟል። ያለ ጦርነት መኖር የማይችለው ህወሓት በዋግ በወልቃይት አቅጣጫና በሱዳን ድንበር አካባቢ ወረራ መክፈቱንም መንግስት አስታውቋል። ይህንን የህወሓት ወረራ ጀግናው የመከላከያ ሰራዊት በተሟላ ዝግጅትና በጽኑ ቁመና እየተከላከለ ይገኛል። የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት በተለያዩ አቅጣጫዎች የተከፈቱበትን ጥቃቶች በጽናት እየተከላከለ አሁንም ለሰላም አማራጮች የዘረጋቸውን እጆች ዛሬም ድረስ አላጠፈም። ለሰላም የተዘረጋው እጅ በህወሓት እብሪታዊ ወረራ ምክንያት እንዳይታጠፍ ዓለም አቀፉ ማህበረሰብ የሚቻለውን እንዲያደርግ የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት አሁንም ያሳስባል። ወገናችን የሆነው የትግራይ ህዝብም ይህንን የእብሪት ወረራ በማውገዝ ህወሓት ከሚያስከትልበት መከራ ራሱን ነፃ እንዲያወጣም መንግስት ጥሪ አቅርቧል።
Okay, I'll come back to this shipment of grain arriving in Djibouti. So that's the government side. That's the government propaganda. But the reality is the war is expanding to Ethiopia-Sudan border from East Amara region, from Kobo and other areas. Waldia. So now is TDF is expanding to Ethiopia-Sudan border, Walqait and the Western Tigray. You know, they just want to open up the ceiling. They are under the ceiling for more than 2 years. They should, you know, TDF is not interested about war. The government is saying TDF cannot live without war. That's a lie. Nobody want to continue war because war kill, you know, kill people and destroy property and creates emotional stress. People can be injured. So that's a lie. That's a propaganda. So they just want to, you know, use their weapon, their tool, the media they have to give bad name and taint bad things against TDF. So TDF is representing Tigrayan peoples who are suffering, who have been suffering for more than 2 years under the blockade of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Eritrean government. No food, no electricity, no internet, no telecommunication, no banking. Nobody can live under this condition. So they are fighting a war for survival. And, you know, they are also ready to engage. They came back from Shoa Robit, back to Tigray to settle this issue with the help of international community. But Abiy Ahmed was determined to continue the starvation of the Tigrayan people and need to start the negotiation. How are you going to negotiate when your stomach is empty, when you don't have nothing? So that's the issue. That's the issue. So I hope it will be resolved through the TDF and other forces. End this regime. This regime is not pro-public. It's not pro-public. It's just for individual power. So let's continue.
The first ship carrying grain from Ukraine for people in the hungriest parts of the world has docked at the Horn of Africa port of Djibouti, as areas of East Africa are badly affected by daily drought and conflict. Food security experts call it a drop in the bucket for the vast needs in the worst hit Horn of African countries of Somalia, Kenya and Ethiopia, the nations where this first shipment is going.
Food on the Brave Commander will feed 1.5 million people for 1 month in Ethiopia. So this makes a very big impact for those people who currently have nothing, and now WFP will be able to provide them with their basic needs.
The flow of grain from Ukraine for other hungry parts of the world is expected to continue, with another ship departing Tuesday for Yemen. The UN World Food Programme has said it is working on multiple ships.
We've seen a reduction of 15% in wheat prices globally since the Black Sea Initiative commenced. What we want to see is more food flowing. We need, from WFP's perspective, millions of tons in this region. In Ethiopia alone, 3/4 of everything that we used to distribute originated from Ukraine and Russia.
How any of the grain will reach Tigray is now in question as humanitarian deliveries by road and air have been suspended amid the fight that sparked again last week between Tigray forces and Ethiopian ones. The UN has said 2.4 million in Tigray alone are severely food insecure, and that 20 million people across Ethiopia face hunger.
Bayer's pH balancing cleanser is perfect
one
for
more
normal
on
to
Gorbachev.
complications and to gently but deeply cleanse.
4 out of 5 Americans shopping on the Obamacare marketplace can get quality health care with a premium of...
Mikhail Gorbachev changed the course of
That's
20th
Mikhail
century
Gorbachev.
history. His legacy, though, is valued more by some than by others. In the West, he's revered as a great statesman, a Nobel Peace Prize winner who played a decisive role in ending the Cold War. To many Russians, he's the man who allowed the Soviet Empire to collapse, exposing millions to hardship and humiliation.
His legacy is that he allowed for the peaceful collapse of the Soviet Union. He did not use massive force to keep Eastern Europe in the empire, and for that he deserves credit. But it is not that this was someone who came in trying to undermine the system. He tried to reform it.
As a young man, Gorbachev studied law at Moscow State University. He went on to forge a career in the Communist Party, eventually becoming its general secretary and leader of the Soviet Union. But the command economy Gorbachev inherited was failing, and there were shortages of food and consumer goods. Gorbachev tried to fix things with glasnost and perestroika, reforms that were to revolutionize the Soviet system.
We need more enterprise, more democracy, more organization, and more discipline. Then we will be able to bring perestroika up to full speed and give new impetus to developing socialism.
His leadership also led to a revolution in relations with the West. Face-to-face with US President Ronald Reagan, Gorbachev signed a treaty eliminating an entire class of nuclear weapons, curbing the nuclear arms race. It was the beginning of the end of the Cold War. Soon the Berlin Wall fell, and after a failed coup by hardliners in Moscow, the Soviet Union itself was dissolved and Gorbachev resigned.
In this situation which follows the establishment of the Commonwealth of Independent States, I hereby cease to act as the President of the Soviet Union.
Awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990, Gorbachev remained in the public eye, watching democratic progress erode and relations with the West deteriorate.
Well, right now, the present Russian Tsar, Vladimir Putin, is trying with military force to rebuild the Soviet Union, to reintegrate it through forceful means, kind of undo the Gorbachev legacy.
Mikhail Gorbachev.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the world's lost a towering global leader. Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed his deepest condolences. Gorbachev, with his famous crimson birthmark, was one of the most recognizable figures of 20th century politics and one of its most influential.
Okay, thank you, Al Jazeera. So is a contribution for the passing of Mikhail Gorbachev at 91. He's fortunate to live 91, that's really. But he contributed some on a nuclear, armament control with the United States, dealing with Reagan and Bush. So that's all I have for today. And we are watching what the Prime Minister will get from Turkey. Maybe already went back to Ethiopia. I don't have current information, but he was in Turkey, as I said. He is not looking for basic food to feed his people, but he's looking for weapons, drones, tanks, so that he can kill his own citizens for his own sake of power. And the whole community Ethiopians and the global community should stand against this man and force him to resign. I hope it will happen before too much bloodshed occurs. It's already occurring, but we want it to end, by forcing him or demand his resignation. He's going around to buy weapons and selling the country's resources, even selling the sugar factories just to get weapons. He will sell anything to get weapons so that he can save his power. I hope he will not be successful. I hope he and his associate will be accounted for what they created in Ethiopia. All the chaos, all the killing, the torture they created in that country. So that's all I'm going to say for today. I will be back with other updates. And thank you for joining me. Be safe. So long, everyone.